Hello, hello, hello. How are you today? This wonderful Saturday that the Lord has made. I want to talk to you today about Genesis chapter 14. Previously, we talked about Genesis chapter 13. So now I want to talk about Genesis chapter 14. And if I may, I'll start off reading some and then we'll get into the subject matter. So, Genesis chapter 14, starting with verse 1. And it reads, And it came to pass in the days of Amraphel, king of Sinor, Arioch, king of Elazar, Kedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of nations. These made war with Bera, king of Salem, and Bersha, king of Gomorrah, Sinab, king of Amad, and Shemeber, king of Zoboim, and the king of Bela, which is Zor. All these were joined together in the vale of Siddim, which is the Salt Sea. 12 years they served Kedorlaomer, and in the 13th year they rebelled. And in the 14th year came Kedorlaomer and the kings that were with him, and smote the Rephaims and Ashtaroth, Canaim, and Zuzims and Ham, and the Emins and Shavi, K-I-A Vihim. Can't quite get that one, but that's okay. And the Hortites, in their Mount Seram unto Pathram, which is by the wilderness. And they returned and came to Mishpat, which is Kadesh, and smote all the country of all of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites that dwell in Has-Ezon Tamar. And there went out the king of Salem, and the king of Gomorrah, and the king of Abham, and the king of Zebohim, and the king of Bela, same as Zor, and they joined battle with them in the vale of Sittim. And with Kedorlaomer, the king of Elam, and with Tisdale, the king of nations, and with Aramphel, king of Sinor, and Arioch, king of Elazar, 4 kings with 5. And the vale of Sittim was full of slime pits, and the king of Salem and Gomorrah fled, and they fell there. And they that remained fled to the mountains. And they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah, and all their victuals, and went their way. And they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. And there came one that had escaped, and told Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Meir, the Amorite, the brother of Ishkar, and the brother of Anor, and these were confederate with Abram. And when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants, born in his own house, 318, and pursued them unto Dan. And he divided himself against them, he and his servants by night, and smote them, and pursued them unto Haphat, which is on the left of Damascus. And he brought back all the goods, and also brought again his brother Lot, and his goods, and the women also, and the people. And the king of Salem went to meet him, and returned from the slaughter of Kedorlaomer, and of the kings that were with him at the valley of Sivin, which is the king's dale. This is the interesting part. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High God. And he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram of the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth. And blessed be the Most High God, which hath delivered thy enemies into thy hand. and he gave him tithes of all. And the king of Sodom said unto Abram, Give me the persons, and take the goods to thyself. And Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have lifted up thy hand unto the Lord, the Most High God, the possessor of heaven and earth, that I will not take a thread, even to a shoe latchet, that I will not take anything that is thou's, lest thou shouldst say, I have made Abram rich, save only that which the young men have eaten, and a portion of men which went with me, Anar, Eskar, and Maim, let them take their portions. And that's the book of Genesis 14. So to break this down to you, what happened is that totally there were 9 kings. There were 9 kings, and 5 of the kings were ruling and going against the other. 4 of the kings were ruling. They were going against the other kings. And they were seizing them, taking their possessions, doing what they wanted to do. So these kings eventually rebelled. These kings eventually, the 5, and the names were, let me see if I can get back to the names, that rebelled against the 4. Okay, so the kings that rebelled were King Bersha of Salem. I'm sorry, Bera of Salem, and Bersha of Gomorrah, King Sinab of Amad, and King Shemiber, king of Zeboim, and King Bela, which is Zor. So those 5 kings, they got tired of the stuff. Now, this is the other thing. They came together and said, we're going to rebel. We're going to go after them. It's 5 of us and it's 4 of them, and we're going to go after them. But these other 4 kings, which is Amraphel, king of Sinor, Arioch, king of Elazor, Kedorla Omar, king of Elam, and Tadal, king of nations. So those 4 kings, they were doing a lot of damage. And the Bible talks about it some more. So I'm going to explain it to you. So they went against these kings because they got tired. They got sick and tired. They went against the kings and they did not win. The kings of Sodom and Gomorrah, they actually slid into the slime pits, and the other people, they ran to the mountains, the other kings. But their people were captured. And once they were captured, as they did back in that day, they took the people, men, women, and children. They took their food. They took all their goods. Anything they had of value, they took that. And they were captured. So they were all together with that. And now they belong to the people that captured them. Much like today, if there's a war, and just say, for instance, if you become a prisoner of war. So what happened is that someone escaped. And they told Abram what happened. They told Abram that Lot was among the ones that are captured. And Abram, he took his people that were in his household, 318 of them, and he devised a plan to wait until they were asleep, to wait at night, and to get all of the people back. So Abram and all of his people, 318 of his household, his people that he had, they went in and they overtook these people, these kings that took Lot and Lot's family. So not only did Abram bring back Lot and his wife and everybody, all their goods, the other people were freed as well. Men, women, and children. So everybody was freed. So Abram was able to do that. And so when Abram did that, the king of Sodom was so thankful. Of course, who wouldn't be? He came and he offered Abram. He said, "Listen, take all the goods, all the stuff that they took. You can have all of that. Just leave the people. You can have all that." And Abram said, "No." Abram said, "No. I don't want that stuff. Abram said, I lift up, I lift up my hand to God that I would not take anything, not even a shoelace from you, that you would say you made me rich. So apparently Abram prayed about, well, of course he prayed about, this before he went and did that, and God gave him the victory. God gave him the victory. Um, and then I love this part. Um, Melchizedek is the proper pronunciation. Melchizedek. Melchizedek. You want to definitely pronounce that, right? He came and he spoke a blessing over Abram. He also brought bread and wine, and Abram gave him a tithe. Abram gave him a tithe. So when we talk about Melchizedek, he has no beginning, no end, no mother, no father, but he is a priest and a sorry, he's a priest and a king. So the other thing is
Ariel.
that's my computer behind me. The other thing is that I wanted to mention that the reason why the four kings felt like they were so powerful, which they apparently were to some degree, is that back then giants were in the land, and the giants, they were able to overtake them. So I just want to go back and give you some scripture. I think that is Genesis 6. And I know I mentioned it before when I read Genesis 6. And Genesis 6, chapter 4, it talks about chapter Genesis 6, I was saying verse 4, but I want to start before verse 4. Um, I'll start with, I can start with verse 4. Verse 4, it says, there were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, and they bare children unto them. The same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. This grieved God because there was a lot of wickedness in the earth. And when I read in chapter 14, that, and I should have looked at the verse. I don't want to have to go. When it talks about, here it is, in verse 6, it says, in the 14th year came Chaldor-laomer, that's the king, and the kings were with him, and they smote the Rephaims. That right there, they were a part of the kings. They were mighty men. So for them to be able to smoke them, that means kill them, take them over. For them to be able to do that, that gave them confidence, and they were able to do other things as well. So, the people think, well, hey, they were able to get these giants. They're able to do other things, and they were, So, also, I just want to go into, if I can find Numbers. I would like to reference. Let me see. No, I'm sorry. Numbers, chapter 13, and verse 33. And we're going to just talk about the giants a little bit, because that was a big deal as to why they were so compliant, as to why the five kings were so compliant, because they knew that they were able to overtake the Rephaims, and they were the giants, and they were supposed to be mighty men. So this is why the beginning of 14, it says, they rebelled after a while. They were going along with it, but after a while they rebelled. There's an old saying that even the dog gets tired after a while. And just like in slavery, after a while we rebelled. People rebel. So that's no surprise. But in Numbers chapter 13, verse 33, I just want to talk about the giants. Um, and there we saw the giants, the sons of Anak, which came of the giants, and we were in our own sight as grasshoppers. So we were in their sight. So if you remember, you know, Caleb and them, they went up there to seek out the land, and this is in the book of Numbers. So the giants were there. The giants were there, and so for these four kings that were able to overtake the giants, that's why the other five kings complied for so long. But after a while, they said, "Wait a minute, we're tired of this. We're going to do something about it." And they did not win, but thanks be to God that Abram stepped in because his nephew was there, and he got all of them, out of that problem. And that is Genesis chapter 14 is very interesting. All of Genesis is very interesting, even though there's 50 chapters. So I would love to skim through it, but it's so rich that I just hate to do that. This whole Bible is so rich. And when we just, kind of do chapters together, we miss so much. We miss so much. It could be a sentence. We miss so much. We're not even going over a lot of things that we could as far as the land, as far as Noah. This has a lot to do with Noah, the curse he put on the Canaanites, and his son Ham is of the Canaanites, and his son Shem. This all ties into it. That's why it's important to study the Bible. So to show thyself approved, to know what you're talking about. But I think the message here is, first of all, God renewed his covenant with Abram in chapter 13. He had made a covenant with him prior to that, but he renewed it in chapter 13. And then, he said, "Hey, this is all yours." So it's no surprise that Abram was able to do that he was able to, rescue them, all of the people, and all of the goods, because God was on his side. And then Melchizedek, I want to pronounce that correctly. I thought I thought I had read, I thought I had gave you that scripture about Melchizedek not having a beginning or end. Okay, so I don't know where that is right now. But so for Melchizedek, the Bible tells us that he doesn't have mother or father, nor beginning or end. He was brought on by the Lord. So that's something, if you're interested, you can look up, and I can spell it for you. Let's see. Melkize. I don't think that's the correct spelling, but let me see if I have it up here. So Melchizedek. Melchizedek. He was the king of Salem. And he came forth and brought bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High God. This is verse 18 in chapter 14 of Genesis. And it says, "And he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram of the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth. And blessed be the Most High God, which have delivered thy enemies into thy hand." And he gave them tithes of all. So, when God is on your side, you get the victory. So, that's all I have for you today. Didn't mean to be that long. I try not to stay over 15 minutes, but I see we're going close to 20. So I just want to say God bless you. I prayed before I started, before I came online here, and I just want to say God bless you and have a great day. Bye-bye.